Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jonathan Gowin. I'm the director of the Tuition Break program here with the New England Board of Higher Education, and really pleased to be talking to you today just about the FAQs, the frequently asked questions about tuition break. We've been providing a lot of content to folks this year on various different topics, but we felt it was high time that we take a moment to pause, revisit what is tuition break in the first place, and let's also begin to really break down what are some common scenarios, common questions about how the program works, and certain situations that students and families can encounter with this. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. So we're going to jump right into it here in just a moment. But I also want to take a moment to introduce another member of the tuition break team, Charlotte, who's going to be assisting us this evening. Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlotte Oakes. I am the program coordinator for Tuition Break here at the New England Board of Higher Education. Tonight, I'm here to support Jonathan, so I'll be monitoring the chat. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A.
All right. Thank you very much. So without further ado, let's get down to it. So really, I want to start at a pretty high level. What is tuition break in the first place? I think in terms of frequently asked questions, this is the best place to begin. So first off, tuition break, you may already know, is a cost savings opportunity available to students and families who live in New England. So specifically, we serve New England residents and especially those students or specifically those who are looking to go out of state. So for example, if you reside here in the state of Massachusetts, but you want to study at a public college or university outside of Massachusetts, but still within New England, this is an opportunity for you to save money on that out-of-state tuition. Now, you're going to hear us talk quite a bit during this presentation, this video, about out-of-state tuition. And so it's important to know that these two things exist. You've got in-state tuition, and you've got out-of-state tuition. So in-state tuition is what's charged by a public college or university to residents that live in the state of that institution. And out-of-state is what those public colleges or universities charge to non-residents of that state. So it's important to know that these two things exist and that are out there. Out-of-state tuition is typically much more expensive than in-state tuition. And that's why tuition break exists. We are here to really help save families money, especially here in New England. It's such a small region. It's very easy to travel between states. We exist to help families save money on that out-of-state tuition in particular. Now, another layer to tuition break is that not only is it specifically geared for New England residents studying out of state, but here still in New England, it may also be dependent upon major as well. So a lot of the conversation going forward is really going to focus on that piece about, what is an eligible major? What's this academic program component have to do with tuition break? And so I just want to make you aware of that because it is going to be quite a big part of the conversation going forward. And so tuition break and the discount that we're talking about may be dependent upon that major that you could be pursuing. I also want to acknowledge as well, what about private colleges or universities? How does tuition break play into that? There are many, many private colleges and universities that exist here in New England. When it comes to tuition break specifically, we work only with the 80 public community colleges and universities of New England. So if you are interested in studying at a private university, certainly great academic opportunities that exist within those institutions. However, tuition break is not one of those things that's available to help you save money. There are many of other resources out there though, so I definitely encourage you to keep doing your research and definitely learn a lot more about financial aid. But for the purposes of tuition break specifically, we only work with the public universities and community colleges of New England. So let's move forward. I mentioned at the very beginning that we here at Tuition Break, we're a part of the New England Board of Higher Education. What is that? What is NEBHE, which is our acronym? How does this all work? A question that I get quite often from families is, you save New England residents quite a lot of money, but that has to come from somewhere, right? That money has to sort of be made up, correct? How does tuition break get funded? What is the New England Board of Higher Education in the first place? These are pretty common questions that I get from families throughout the year. And so I want to address them before we move forward. So first things first, the New England Board of Higher Education, or NEBHE, We are a interstate compact organization. In simple terms, we're a nonprofit that exists to help the region of New England as it relates to many different aspects of higher education. In the case of Tuition Break, we're specifically working to serve the public or the residents and the families, the students of the New England region, help you support and find a affordable path to higher education. But we do a lot more than that. We work with legislators. We do a significant amount of research as well. We have some other programs that exist. And so we're really here to help support higher education as well as the families and students here of New England. But we're not alone. We are actually one of 4 compact organizations across the US. All of us exist for really kind of the same purpose, which is to support higher education, support students on their path to and through higher education, and ultimately then to a fulfilling professional career as well down the road. Now, I think it's really important to address that funding question as well, because you may be wondering, how really does this work? Is this legitimate? And I can say absolutely yes. In fact, while we are a private nonprofit, we actually are we're quasi-public entities. We do receive state funding to help support our programs. In fact, Tuition Break was the cornerstone program around which NEBHE was founded. And so for the last 65 years, we've been receiving support from the state in order to help provide, again, that affordable pathway to higher education here to New England residents. Now, I want to keep diving a little bit more into the mechanics of Tuition Break, because like I said in the beginning, I mentioned that that academic programs are a significant part of how the discount becomes available to students. And so another question that's fairly common is, how are academic programs approved for reduced costs through Tuition Break? So the important things to know is that they're approved in one of 2 ways during an annual review process. So every summer, we do a full top to bottom review of all of the programs that we offer through Tuition Break, that is academic programs or majors. We go through all of those, and we communicate with every single one of the public community colleges and universities of the region to ensure that what is being offered through Tuition Break is still viable, it's eligible. And in fact, through that process every year, we've been adding more and more programs to Tuition Break, making the discount far more accessible and far more wide-reaching every single year. In fact, these days we're up to over 2,500 different academic majors available at reduced tuition across New England. So we're really quite proud of the fact that every year we've been expanding our offerings substantially, and this discount has become more and more accessible to students as we've moved forward. Now, I've got some language on this slide relative to different program types. So what this means is that programs, when we talk about programs that are approved for reduced tuition through Tuition Break, they typically fall into one of 2 categories, and these are determined through that annual review process I was just talking about. So the first category is called their specialized programs. Now, this is the first policy that ever existed related to Tuition Break. This is sort of how the program was founded initially, and specialized programs or specialized majors are offered specifically to provide discounted tuition to students who reside in a New England state where that specific academic program is not available at a public university. So, for example, at the University of Vermont, they offer an agroecology and landscape design degree. It's not offered anywhere else in New England. So it's very specialized, highly specialized. Therefore, that discount is available to most of the other residents of New England outside of Vermont. That was one of those. That's a great example of a specialized program available to most other residents of New England, because it's a very, very niche, very specific academic program that you typically won't find at many of the other public universities. So this is one of the original sort of policies related to Tuition Break. It really existed to sort of create a sense of fairness around what was accessible and what is not, related to academic offerings for students within their home state public university system. The other category of program is much, much newer. We launched this new flexible category of programs about 4 years ago. And flexible exists really to help create more access to higher education in New England and save families more on tuition overall. So for the flexible program category, what happens is certain institutions can offer their programs, any academic program or major that they would like, at reduced tuition to any resident of the other 5 states of New England. So it has nothing to do, if a program is listed as flexible, it has nothing to do with whether or not that program may be available in a student's home state. Essentially, a flexible program, you know, if you're an out-of-state resident, it's going to be available at reduced tuition no matter what. And you may be wondering at this point, Jonathan, you keep talking about all of these academic programs that are available through tuition break. You're mentioning these categories. How do I know? How will I know if what programs are categorized as, and how do I find that out? So it's really important through this entire process that you certainly engage and do your homework, do your research about this. I do realize it's a very complicated program. There's a lot of layers to it, but definitely check out our website, nebhe.org/tuition break. You'll actually see at the bottom of almost every slide in this presentation is our website URL. So I've put that on there so that you always have something to reference back to. So check that out. We do have a full listing of all 2,500 academic majors that are available at reduced tuition across the region. All of that exists on our website. So definitely feel free to check that out. There's a lot more, it will make a lot more sense when you begin to see those program listings. But at this point, I actually do want to really dive into the actual process. You know, I've been laying the groundwork about what tuition break is, but now I really actually want to begin to talk about how do you access it? How do you actually receive the tuition break and see it reflected on your student account? And so the first step really, and I will say in terms of application processes, it's fairly straightforward. And the great thing is that because tuition break is not, it's a discount, it's not a scholarship. What it means is that there's no sort of GPA requirements. There's no test score requirements. None of those pieces that could make this more difficult to access. But anyway, in terms of the process, first things first, state of residence has to be one of the New England states. So you have to be a permanent resident of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, or Vermont. So that's the first step. You live in New England. The second step is you want to make sure you do your research related to tuition break eligible academic programs at the colleges or schools that you're interested in. Again, this harkens back to what I was just saying about make sure you do your homework, check out our website. You've got a full searchable database embedded on there where you can see all of the programs we offer, at which colleges, you can see their state eligibility. All of that is on our website. So I can't stress enough, spend some time on there, look for certain academic programs you're interested in, or if you're saying, I really want to study at the University of Maine, feel free, go on our website, check out all of the University of Maine's program listings to see what could be available to you. The third step is the most active one. That is where you submit your admission application to the colleges that you're interested in. And here's the key. There's no specific application for tuition break. All of this is done when you submit your general admission application. So there's no additional steps, no additional paperwork, anything else you need to do. You simply need to apply for admission to any of the schools that you're interested in that participate in tuition break, and then make sure that you list that eligible program on your application. I also recommend, as you're doing your research about what programs are tuition break eligible, make sure you also do a little bit of digging into the websites at those specific colleges and universities, see how they talk about tuition break on their websites to ensure that if there are any additional eligibility requirements, that you inquire about those and learn a bit about them. One of the things we'll be talking about a little bit more as we go on through this video is you'll see sort of some of the scenarios, what ifs will come up, and a lot of it can come back to just wanting to make sure you know how each specific university does employ tuition break and works out these processes for themselves and for their students. So make sure you submit your admission application, list the eligible program on that application, and then spend some time on their website and learn a little bit about if they have any additional requirements that are required. And then the last step is really just don't ever hesitate to ask questions. Again, I acknowledge this is a multi-layered and nuanced process, so please never hesitate to reach out, ask questions, engage. You're always welcome to reach out to the Tuition Break team. We're happy to support and provide any information that we can. Also, don't hesitate to reach out to your admission counselors as well. Never hesitate to ask those questions. It's better to know, it's better to get the information that you need. So if there's anything that you can't find, don't hesitate to reach out. So really quick, simple question here. This is one that comes up a lot in our frequently asked questions. Is tuition break available for advanced degrees and certificates? Oftentimes, most of the students we talk to are those that, maybe are pursuing an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, but know that if you're looking for a certificate, or maybe you already have your bachelor's or another degree and you want to get an advanced certificate, or you want to pursue a master's or a doctoral degree, know that tuition break is also available for those degrees as well. In fact, we have over 200 certificates that are offered at the tuition break discount across the region. And in fact, in terms of graduate degrees, we're well over 650 graduate degrees that are available across the region as well. So tuition break is not just an undergraduate opportunity. It is an opportunity available to everyone who is a New England resident that wants to study at a New England public institution. So a nice quick question that we can answer, and one that has very positive implications for you all. Another key question is, how does tuition break work as it relates to other financial aid or other cost savings opportunities? Can tuition break be combined with other things? And the short answer is absolutely yes. But I do want to make a few important points about this. The first is that I really can't stress enough, if you're watching this video, make sure you are completing your FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. This is this is the standard document for you as it relates to accessing various financial aid opportunities, whether you're looking at public colleges, private colleges, anything. It is really, really critical that you complete your free application for federal student aid. This is how colleges determine your eligibility. It's how the federal government determines your eligibility for things like the Pell Grant, which could mean free, no strings attached support for you to pursue undergraduate opportunities. It could also mean as well for specific institutions access to additional need-based aid. So I really, really can't stress enough. Certainly complete the FAFSA for sure. It's a critical element to you maximizing your financial aid support. I also want to point out, again, one of the things that I mentioned a moment ago in specifying that tuition break is a discount. It's not a scholarship or a grant. And that's really important, because what that means is that access to tuition break means that you can still take advantage of other opportunities like the Pell Grant. You can still receive the Pell Grant and tuition break. You can also receive additional scholarships as well. All of these things can work together to support you and to bring your overall college costs down. I do want to point out that financial aid is awarded based on need or merit, and it's awarded at the discretion of the college or the university that you're applying to. So that's really important in terms of understanding how tuition break may fit together with all of these pieces, especially related to merit-based scholarships. It's possible that if you receive tuition break, that you may see a slight adjustment in your scholarship award. It is up to the institutions to make those calls. The one thing I do want to assure you is that should never result in an out-of-pocket cost increase on the part of the student. Again, we exist to help bring costs overall down. And so we'll talk a little bit more as we go on about how this might be represented, how these equations work out. But I just want to take this moment to acknowledge a few things related to how tuition break can intersect with various other financial aid related opportunities. At this point, really want to talk about some scenarios. What might you encounter as you work your way through your college experience and receive tuition break? These are situations that, while they may not come up a lot in actuality, these are questions that we get quite a lot about how it works. Especially, you'll see a lot of them relate to that program of study, that academic major component. So one of the questions we get a lot are students will reach out and say, okay, I live in this state and I want to go to this college or university. How do I know if I qualify for tuition break? So I don't want to belabor the point, but I want to come back to our process. Again, it's very simple. The first things first is that you will know if you qualify based on 3 simple steps. The first step is got to be a permanent resident of one of the 6 New England states. That's the first barrier to overcome. The second is that you want to check out the list of participating schools and eligible academic programs. Again, this is where I want to revisit the fact that tuition break is available to New England residents who want to study outside of their home state at one of the public community colleges or universities within New England. So for example, if you're a Maine resident, you want to study in Connecticut, you can possibly receive the tuition break discount if you attend any of the public community colleges or universities in Connecticut. I do just want to make a point to say that we do define New England as the states of Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont. So if there are any folks who found this video, if you're a resident, for example, of New York or New Jersey, or perhaps if you're a New England resident looking to study at a public university in New York or New Jersey, unfortunately, tuition break does not extend to that point. We are just available at the public colleges here within the New England region. But it is really important to check out our website, see our list of participating schools, go through our list of eligible academic programs, and always, of course, reach out to us if you have any questions about those. And then that last step is you do, again, this comes back to that reaching out to your admission counselor, having those conversations. Never hurts to reach out to the college or university that you're interested in, just to confirm that those program offerings are there and if there's any other eligibility requirements that you might need to complete. So really a quick 3-step process: New England resident, studying at an eligible tuition break institution and studying in an eligible academic program, and then confirming that academic program with the college or university that you're interested in. Moving on, one of the things that you might encounter is as you look through our website, you may be wondering, like, okay, I have an idea of what I want to study, and I have a few schools that I'm interested in, but the major that I'm interested in isn't offered in my state at any of the public universities or colleges where I currently live. But I also see that it's not listed as a tuition break program at the school or schools that I'm interested in. How does this work? Can I still access the tuition break discount? And in this case, the answer is unfortunately no. So sometimes college or universities, they may not decide to offer certain majors through tuition break, even if those majors are not available within the home state of within another New England state. This is it is the discretion of the university or college to decide this. And so it is important to recognize that when it comes to the specialized programs I mentioned earlier, while the tuition break eligibility is dependent on that not being available in the home state, it doesn't mean that other institutions outside of the home state are required to offer the program at a discount. I'll also add that there are a small number of programs, despite how many colleges and universities there are in New England, there are a small number of highly specific academic programs that are not offered by any New England public college or university. A good example of this is professional golf management. It's a very, very highly specialized field of study. It's only available actually at a handful of colleges across the entire United States, and not at all here in New England. And so unfortunately, that's a program that is also not available through tuition break. So it's important to know, we're an excellent opportunity with a far reach. However, there are certain things that are out of our reach as well. I also want to acknowledge a sort of a two-part question here, one that can work in 2 different directions. So a common question I get related again to this academic program component is, what happens if I change from a tuition break eligible major to a non-tuition break major? So say you're already enrolled at a college, be it 2-year or 4-year or even a graduate degree, and you're thinking, no, I want to change into something different. Yes, I'm receiving the tuition break discount, but I've decided that this academic program isn't for me. I want to change into something else. And I see that program is not offered at the tuition break discount for residents of my state. what happens? At that point, you would be charged the standard out-of-state tuition rate from the point that you do change that major. So it is important to know that you may, if you change into a non-tuition break major, that you could lose that discount. It is unfortunate, but I want to be very transparent with you all and to ensure that you do recognize that that is a possibility. But on the other hand, there's also, this can work in the opposite direction as well. So if you're enrolled in a major that's not offered at the tuition break rate, but you're realizing, again, this program isn't really for me. I want to go in a different direction, and you see that another major at that college or university is offered at reduced tuition through tuition break. Can you change into that major? The answer is yes, usually, in fact, almost all of the time. The important step here is that if you're a current student, if you're studying in a non-tuition break major and you're looking to change into one, it's really important to contact the registrar really as soon as you make that decision, as soon as you're ready to make that change, or if you're strongly considering it and wondering about the process, I highly, highly recommend contact the registrar at your university, as well as perhaps the college tuition break representative. All of those folks are listed on their website. It's important to have those conversations with folks just to, again, learn about any additional requirements. If you're already enrolled and you're looking to change your major, there is paperwork that will need to be completed and filled out. And so it's important to really bring tuition break up as early as possible in those conversations to ensure that that's being considered as well in the various administrative tweaks that need to happen. So the answer to that is almost always a definite yes. But you do want to make sure that you contact the registrar, you have that open and honest conversation, and understand all of the various steps and processes that go into that. Now, one of the last questions here before we open this session up to more Q&A, one of the last questions I want to cover is, how much of a discount are we talking about, right? Jonathan, you've been talking all along about discounts and opportunities to save money. But what does that actually look like? What are we talking about in terms of real savings? And we're really quite proud of our reach and the impact we've been able to make on students and families of New England. These days, the average annual tuition savings is up to about $8,600 per year per student. So that translates to quite a lot if you factor this over a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, or potentially even longer if you're considering a doctoral degree. So really, there's massive implications here for saving substantial amounts of money on tuition. And the way that the discount itself works is that it allows an eligible student to pay a tuition break rate or a tuition rate that's significantly lower than out-of-state tuition. So again, remember, tuition break is all about studying at a public university outside of your home state. You typically have to pay out-of-state tuition, but instead, tuition break offers something of a middle ground. It's something way lower than out-of-state tuition, but it is typically maybe a little bit more than in-state tuition would be for residents of that state. If you look at the very quick equation on the side here, this is a good representation of how this works. In the fictional example we've provided for a particular institution, the in-state rate could be $6,000, the out-of-state rate $18,000. However, if tuition break does work out for you, the tuition break tuition rate is actually about $10,500. That means that instead of having to pay that standard out-of-state tuition rate of $18,000, you're actually saving about $7,500 right off the bat. And that's before you even factor in other opportunities like a Pell Grant, any other institutional funding, be it scholarships or any other kind of financial aid opportunity. Tuition break really is that first thing that comes in. It's the first line of defense to bring your costs down. Now, before we move on to some other questions from the audience, I do just want to share a few quick fast facts just about the program in general. One of the things we just talked about, average savings, $8,600, very substantial, especially if you think about that as $8,600 per year. This is really substantial, especially over the course of a 4-year degree. So it really can mean quite a lot of savings that can make education much more accessible for you and your family. Also want to highlight again, we've got over 2,500 majors that are available at reduced tuition across the region at 38 participating four-year institutions and 43 participating community colleges. So over 80 institutions in the region. Every single public community college and university in New England works with tuition break. So it's a really wonderful opportunity in that way. And in fact, last academic year, 2021 to 2022, over 9,200 students received the tuition break discount across the region. So we're talking about total savings in the neighborhood of $130 million for the whole region. So really phenomenal opportunities. And again, we've been expanding the program every year. In the last 3 years alone, we've more than tripled the number of academic programs that are offered at reduced tuition. So we're expecting this number to continue to rise. I'm going to share this last slide, and I'm going to keep this card up here for a couple minutes. I know we've got a couple of questions from the audience, so I'll leave this up for you to take down our contact information. Please, again, feel free to reach out, ask any questions that you have. We are here to support you as you pursue higher education in whatever way is best for you. So let us know how we can help. But I believe we have a few questions from the audience at this point. So Charlotte, I am going to open it up to you to let us have them.
Hello again. We have a question in the chat, and then we have a question from Twitter as well. So we'll start with the Twitter question. I am a junior and I'm not sure which college I want to go to yet. Is there a list of schools that offer tuition break?
Absolutely. So first things first, it's important to know if you're interested in studying at a public university in New England, tuition break will be offered there to some extent or another. Some institutions offer more programs with us. Some institutions offer less, but it's important to know we're at every public college and university in New England. If you want to see a full list of those institutions, definitely check out our website, nebhe.org/tuition break. We do have a full list of all 81 institutions on that website.
Thank you. Our next question is, are any programs for Massachusetts residents going to change in Rhode Island or Connecticut schools for the 2023 and 2024 school year?
That's a phenomenal question, especially as it relates, again, back to that question that we had about how do programs get approved? What's that process look like? So it's important to know that any information that you see represented on our website related to program eligibility, state eligibility, that is static until the completion of our next annual review. And what it is a projection into the future. And so every summer we conduct our annual review, which is a massive communication process with all of our participating institutions, where they decide what programs will be offered through tuition break the next academic year. So the programs that you see listed on our website are the programs that will be offered at the tuition break rate for academic year 2023-2024, which is to say next academic year. So if you are, for example, if you're a high school senior now, you're thinking about enrolling in college in the fall, what you will see on our website is accurate for next year. We always work 1 year in advance so that students and families that are planning out their next step have the information that they need. So what that also means is that this summer, it's 2023 now, this summer we will conduct our annual review process for the following year. So all summer 2023, we're going to be talking with our partners across the region, determining what programs will be offered in academic year 2024-2025.
Thank you. Our last question is a little bit more vague. If I have a specific question about my residency, who should I contact?
It's a great question. Residency is it can be a very tricky issue, especially for certain students. And so I want to recognize that that also can be a very stressful question to ask as well. When it comes to residency, every state has different policies around what constitutes residency. How does one become a resident? Those processes do differ wildly by state, especially across or even across New England. And additionally, each college and university will have a slightly different process as well for how they define residency as well. So when it comes to determining how to best interpret your residency or how an institution will determine your residency, I recommend contacting the colleges that you're interested in particular and say, look, I'm interested in X university, but I do have a question about how my residency will be determined. Can we talk a bit about that? What is that process like? Is there any paperwork that I need to do? And so on and so forth. It's best to have that conversation with them, especially because you will see variability across the New England region and what constitutes a resident. And again, significant variability as well from institution to institution.
Thank you. I believe that's it for questions tonight.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Charlotte, and thank you to everyone for joining us this evening. I really appreciate all of your questions and insight, and certainly keep them coming. Again, this is our contact information. Please do not hesitate to ever reach out with any questions you have about tuition break. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best on your college search.